you feeling, Tyler?
Oh man, feeling like
Feeling like $1
feeling
million.
like Astroneer is a great game, man.
Feeling like
That's how I'm
Astroneer is a
feeling.
great game. Well, you're in luck.
Yeah,
You're in luck because we're here to talk about it. Welcome.
thanks.
I've just tricked you into being on my podcast a second time. How does that make you feel?
It's good to be back, man. Feels like home.
Is it? Okay.
Yeah.
I'm glad. We aim to make people comfortable here on the Infinite Scale Podcast Network. We are actually so this is going to be a co-op Compatriots episode minus Sean, which I think we can all agree that we're happy about. Yeah, just nothing in the way of greatness this time. Like if we fall on our face, it's our own fault.
That's right.
There's no one holding us back. No, I'm just kidding. Sean just Tyler and I discovered Astroneer without everyone, unfortunately, and
just dove headlong into it.
yeah, we gave no one else an opportunity to enjoy Astroneer.
Yeah,
which
is unfortunate. It's really unfortunate.
Yeah. It's. I mean, I think that there was a moment there where we were like, should we start over to give them like the joy of discovery and
yes.
But that didn't pan out.
I think we should have. I think we maybe should have.
I mean,
but I don't know.
Should have, could have.
Yeah,
it's a whole thing. But okay, so yes, welcome to the pod. So Co-op Compatriots. This is, the way it basically works is we're gonna just talk as much about Astroneer as we can. I think we'll start probably from like the first bit. Like we'll maybe try to go in chronological order about sort of how we discovered things. And I mean, it's gonna be a little muddled now because we've been doing this, playing it for what, 2-3 weeks now.
Yeah.
So it's going to be a little bit muddled, but I think the nice thing is that I kind of remember, like, the game is like seared into my brain as like I remember the moments leading up to us realizing it's really great.
Yeah.
Extremely well. So I'm going to pull up here. I should have already done this, so I'm just a great host. But Astroneer is a game that it's a PC game, I assume. Yeah, it's also on the consoles. But it initially released into early access, I believe. Yeah, back in 2016. I'm not sure. We kind of came to it pretty late.
Yeah, I'd say so.
I mean, like, a lot of people would not, I guess, early access is an interesting thing because it allows people to release their games and get money and still work on them, right? But in a lot of cases, it like deters people from wanting to play them then because that you're basically soiling it for yourself because shit's coming down the pipe, right?
Exactly. Yeah. Yeah.
So, but it came out in early access in 2016. And then, what is this? This is, and December 2016, and then it saw its full release in 2019. So if you kind of judge it by that, I mean, we're still fucking late, but if you judge it by that, it's it's not kind of as insane. And I'd been seeing things here and there about this game back when it was in early access, and I'd seen people playing it, and it did seem entertaining, but it never really jumped out to me as something I really wanted to try, and it was just sort of on a whim. Like, I was just like, hey, Tyler, this game's on Game Pass. We should play it.
Yeah, and so I hadn't heard nothing about this game, actually. I knew nothing of it until you had brought it up. But I know that a lot of people were... a lot of people have been keeping tabs on it and kind of comparing it to like No Man's Sky because I think it came out around that time or was kind of in its prime around the time.
Yeah.
Initially No Man's Sky release, correct?
Well, so No Man's Sky, that's an interesting comparison because I feel like they almost have like opposite goals. Like in the sense that No Man's Sky was all about hopping from planet to planet, and never really initially anyway. Because I played No Man's Sky at launch. I think you did a little bit, right?
No, I've
not
never
at all.
played it. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, they did come out around the same time. So both in 2016. No Man's Sky is focused entirely around, or at that time there was no real base building. Like you could kind of, you were just gathering. You were a nomad. You were going from planet to planet, zooming through the universe. Your goal was to reach the center of the universe at that
Gotcha.
point in time.
Okay.
So it was like more of a story driven. Like you had a goal and you weren't really staying in one place for too long. Astroneer is like heavily focused on your kind of minute to minute goals of like, I'm establishing myself on each planet that I go to, and there's only like, I mean, how many are there? 7, I think.
Yeah.
Astroneer. It's super intimate compared to No Man's Sky, which felt at the time extremely like, I mean, it was all algorithmically generated and random, and all the planets were kind of lifeless and weird, and it didn't really seem like it was just kind of like a thing to play through, right? Astroneer feels like an experience. Like you're building up a base. And I know No Man's Sky's changed, so before, the 2 people listening to this get like fucking up in arms about defending No Man's Sky. I know it's a different game now, but
yes, yeah.
It's at the time that I played it was a mediocre kind of by the numbers. It felt like it was generated by a machine, which it was.
Right.
And it didn't really there were moments of awe and exploration, not at all in the same way that it is in Astroneer.
Yeah.
But so we started playing, we kind of started this like kind of mid-evening, right? Like it was like,
yeah, it was around like 6 p.m. or so, 5 or 6, I think, was around the time we picked it up.
And I mean, I think the main thing that got us to play this at all was the fact that it was on Game Pass. Like it was free.
Yeah, like free on Game Pass, cooperative, because we were looking for something to start together, and that ended up leading us to here, and we started at 6 and went until what, like 3 a.m. that first night that we started playing it, right?
Yeah, I mean, yeah, I'm trying to think. Yeah, I think so. Like super fucking late. Like I had shit to do the next day, and felt bad. Like I just was not, but it was fucking worth it, dude. Like,
oh yeah.
So we jumped in, and at first, there's a tutorial which is pretty. I think it's good in the sense that it does the thing it's supposed to do, right? It teaches you the basic mechanics of the game, but it's bad in the sense that it doesn't tell you why the game is going to be good.
Yeah, I would say so. I kind of like that it leaves you to discover that for yourself. And like many things in the game, I mean, there's not really. I mean, there's like the Astropedia or whatever that gives you like the basics of the different resources and planets and stuff. But other than that, like you have to figure everything out yourself. Which is pretty cool. It's pretty. I feel like it's pretty unique for games. Like most video games nowadays, just hold your hand all the way through the tutorial and and then it's like, cool. Now that you know everything, go play this story. And then in Astroneer, it's kind of the opposite. Like they give you a very bare bones tutorial. That all through the tutorial, even still, I was not convinced. I was like, this game
I think
sucks.
I think that is maybe like a discussion in and of itself, which is that is it a successful tutorial, because it sort of like there was like a brief hesitation to continue past that, right?
Yes, 100%.
There is like an alternate universe version of us where we did not play further, like which I think is a shame, because the game is good, and I think what makes it good is the sense of satisfaction you get from figuring things out and like continuing and like just making a goal. And the tutorial basically makes it all seem overwhelming and like busy work.
Yes.
But you do understand how things work. So if you're willing to not be immediately grabbed by something, then I think it is a good tutorial, right? Like if you're willing to give it the benefit of the doubt there. So we played that and jumped in, and we're immediately just like, what are we even what are we even like, what's the point, right? Like what is the, because there doesn't appear to be any story. Like it is literally just, it dumps you on this starting planet of Silva, which is like Earth-like ish. It doesn't have oxygen, but it's grassy, it's green, it's blue skies, it's close-ish, and just gives you a base that lets you have oxygen and lets you have some power. Like you've got what we would later find out to be like a late game craftable item attached to the base that generates a little bit of power on its own, so you're not totally out in the fucking like twisting in the wind. And it's I mean it is super interesting because you kind of just do the thing, like you just have to figure it out.
It's truly like trial by fire. Like they just drop you in and
you're like, all right, we just like
make your own adventure
around.
Do what you want. And I think that I honestly can't really remember how far into it was before we just kind of came to the agreement that like this was a good game. But I feel like it wasn't it wasn't long after that. Like after we kind of we were just like, all right, well, I guess let's just start making printers and doing like making things. And I
think it immediately was interesting, and I think we just kind of immediately delved into the mechanics. So like the basis of the mechanics are you need power and resources to do literally anything, right? So you're constantly kind of balancing this meter of generating both. So we just started walking around. You've got a gun that can suck up dirt and resources and converts them into them on your backpack, right? And then you have oxygen, and you have to be able to breathe. So you're like just balancing all these weird meters kind of in the back of your mind, of like, and it's really good at setting short-term goals. So you're like, okay, well, I want to build something. I need 2 or 3 resources or 1 resource or whatever to do that. And I'm chasing that right now. And you find yourself just finding these little goals, and each step of the way you're improving the experience for yourself basically by doing that. And so even if we weren't like immediately amazed or enthralled by this game, like it does a good job of sucking you in because you have those little goals and you're like distracted from thinking about even how good the game is or what it is. Like, you know what I mean? You're just kind of like chasing shit. So like, early on, to kind of build stuff, you can build small objects on your backpack. And so things like tethers, which allow you to continue breathing. they tether you back to base. They're also a good light source. So like those, you can build a small printer, which will then build medium objects. So each thing, like a small printer builds 1 tier up. So medium, a large printer builds, extra large objects. Etc. And so, you're kind of just going up the tier list. But in order to, you kind of quickly realize that unless it's something you already have unlocked, you need, resources and research. So there's just all these meters that you're just like, okay, how, I've got this goal. Now I want to do this. Right. So I think what was really entertaining to me initially was like, we sort of each picked almost different
like things to focus on.
We almost picked different goals. Like I was exploring the surface, and at a certain point you just became a fucking cave diver, like a spelunker.
I was just like I was like, how deep into this planet can I dig and go? And that was it was. And like you start finding things on there, like different research objects and different mineral or different resources, materials, for crafting and things like that. I think it's worthwhile to note too that the resources you can't find every resource on
Yeah.
a single planet.
Yeah.
They are dispersed amongst all of the planets. So at some point, if you want to start crafting the kind of mid to late game items, you have to leave your planet and go and find it, which I'm sure we'll get there. But yeah, so I'm down in the caves just looking and bringing up all these resources.
We
And
don't even
at
know
the
what
time,
they do.
yeah,
We're just collecting shit, basically, like
digging
figuring out
small
how you get
holes
stuff.
and
Yeah.
making little pits of resources in the
Yes.
ground because we didn't have anything to hold our resources.
And it took a while for us to even get there, right? Like we would just come back up and dump all of our shit on the ground.
Yeah.
Just in a fucking mess. Like it was just a nightmare of organization or lack thereof. And like just no real concept for how deep the rabbit hole goes here. Like just like okay, well, plants give you organic, and organic powers this small generator that we built, so fuck it. And then, you know, we've got that. We're figuring out, you know, tiny things that you can, like, examine on the surface or underground give you research points. So that's that, you know, like, that kind of thing. Figuring out how power, like, for a while, we didn't even understand how power worked on your backpack. Or in general, like we were just kind of like, okay, well, we got to generate more power if we're going to start doing stuff. So what, like, we got this small generator that's cranking it out. Like maybe we'll build another one of those or whatever. But I'm like,
the early, like when we so like also when you're out exploring, you'll kind of come across these like almost like crash landing sites of like previous Astroneers that have like kind of left some debris and occasionally like items, like random items that you can grab and take back. And so we started finding like solar panels and wind turbines that all produce power, and we're like, holy shit, this is way more efficient or like way better than our generator because this is just passive. We don't even have to do anything. We don't have to actively burn it.
As long as the wind's going, we're getting power.
We're getting power. And so we started like pursuing those things and trying to
and I think it's, again, like there's no overarching goal here. So like we don't know what this game is. We don't know what we're working towards. We're just in the muck, basically. Like you are absolutely missing the forest for the trees in this game by design, because like you're like focused on one thing at a time, and it just kind of takes you up the chain to larger things. So we have no idea what we're working towards. We're just working, basically. And I mean, I'm on the surface, like meandering around, finding shit to bring back. It takes fucking forever. Like, especially if it's something that's like bigger than, you know, like something you can put on your back, which is most things. You know, but and like just it's funny because like at this point I'm like, I don't even fucking have any interest in the caves, you know? Like it seems like the worldwide surface of this planet is like, so like what is there to see? I think where things started to become really interesting for me was the first time we bump into that ruin. The structure. So there are like gigantic glowing structures on the surface of this planet. I mean, we didn't know how many, we didn't know what they were for, you know, we don't even know what they are, if they're, you know, if there's anything. I mean, they can be interacted with, it seems, but and so I just like run across one and I'm like, what the fuck even is this, right? You know, the like nothing we can do now. Like we just kind of like stare at it for a while and marvel at how weird it's like a geometric shape just busting out of the ground and emitting light, and that's all we know.
It seriously felt like 2001: A Space Odyssey. Like we just stumble across this thing and just fucking stare at it for a while and like,
we're the monkeys.
Exactly. Like, what the fuck is this thing? And it looks like very alien in nature. Like it is. It does not look like natural on the planet, on the surface of the planet. And so like, it was.
it sticks in your mind pretty much constantly about what could this thing be for. Which it provides you with a little bit of something to chase. And like, I think one thing that's interesting as well is that like, you at a certain point, you know, if you hit tab to bring up like the little PDA, and it acts as your tech tree, right? And the way it's broken down is kind of a fucking mess. Like the interface of this game could definitely use some work. But like, I think one thing it is good at is nothing is off limits in terms of what you can see. So you can see the whole tech tree from the start. Like I think at some point we just started petering around and being like, oh fuck, we can build like cars, and what is this and what is that, and there's a shuttle, like does that mean we can go, like we didn't even really realize at the time that space travel was like a big focus, right? It seemed like maybe we were just on this planet or whatever. So we just start finding things to work towards, and I think the first thing we realized was like we found a small battery.
Oh yeah, and that was a fucking game changer.
That was a game changer, and we're like, fuck, we want to build more batteries because they power things, they charge things, and we're like, how the fuck do we even do that? Yeah. And we look through the tech tree and we realize we need a resource, and we're like, okay, let's find these resources. We're like digging around. At this point, you've got a cave that's like a fucking mile long and 3 miles deep. Yeah,
it's pretty. Yeah.
Just aimlessly
nice
looking
cave.
for resources, dude. It was a good ass cave.
Exploring, like just checking it all out, and like
good ass cave. I hated going in that fucking cave because you basically created this fucking labyrinth. Nightmare.
I knew like the back of my hand. I knew every twist and turn of that cave.
But I felt like an alien if I was visiting your cave, dude. I did not belong in your cave, bro. So we realized, like you were saying earlier, that the resources we need to make a battery we could not get. Yet
on that planet.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. And I think it was around this time, like we start building the shuttle, and we're like, we got to go to other planets, dude. That's it. We got to figure it out. And I think it was this time where we like started to theory craft what we would need, supplies, how we even get there.
Oh my god, yeah. And we were fucking terrified. We're like, what if we get there and we're just stranded on this planet without oxygen and just die with all this
no idea how anything works.
No clue how to get back.
Yep.
And oh my god. And so we just like went into planning mode and just had this like, all right, cool. When we get there, what do we need? We need enough materials to make a small printer so we can print a medium printer so we can print these things that we need.
We have no concept of what'll even be there, like what's waiting, like how do we what's entertaining. So the moment that I remember exactly when I first was like, this game's fucking awesome, was because I was like, we got the shuttle built. And we had the one, and then I built a thruster, and we build the shuttle, and I climb in, and I'm like, all right, here we go. And I like push the launch key. There's two for some reason, C or V. I don't know fucking why. Push C, push V, nothing happens. I'm like, all right, whatever. Jump out. I'm like, I think I need to build a thruster because I saw it in the tech tree. There's like a small thruster that you can. All right, cool. Solid fuel thruster. Build it, put it on. Jump in. I like think it's gonna like be like, hey, like this
where
that.
Do you wanna go?
No information. Hit C. I just fucking rocket off into space, like without. I'm just like, all right, guess I'm leaving. You're like, bye, motherfucker.
Yeah, I just remember turning and looking and watching the shuttle just slowly lift off the ground and just fucking zoom out into space. I'm just like, oh my god, I'm never seeing that man again.
Yeah, I'm like, Tyler, what is happening? So I remember in this thing, I like flew to another planet, just landed for like 2 seconds, took 2 looks around, and was like, what the fuck? Got back in my ship and fucking flew my ass straight back to base and landed. And it's a good thing I did and didn't like fly anywhere else, because I realized that I would have been stranded if I had flown to another planet and like checked it out. Because like those solid fuel thrusters are only good for basically like a trip there and a trip somewhere else, usually back home.
Trip and that's it. Yeah.
Right? Yeah. And I'm curious to know if like other people played this game the same way we did, which is basically like you have one big base and then a bunch of satellite bases. Because like I could very easily see people just being like, okay, well, let's just move everything to this other, or like,
just packing everything up and going.
That, or like, hey, let's set up a completely new base on a new planet and like a big one, right, or whatever, But we were basically just building like research outposts almost, or like resource outposts, and then returning back home. But anyway, so I fly back home, and we're like, fuck yeah, dude! Like, this game is amazing, and we just bust out into like full preparation. What do we need? What do we need to go to these planets? We're like thinking, should we split up and go to different planets? Should we stick together and go to the same planet?
The same one. Because in the small shuttles, only one person can fit, and so like we were trying to figure out how to take two and like build it. Printed the we printed the rover seat and put it in the like storage compartment to see if I could get in it.
Jumped in, wouldn't let me take off.
In the storage compartment. That was so funny.
God damn, I forgot about that.
Yeah. And so it's just like just trying to figure out how shit works with no like clear guidance those are some of my favorite parts about this game. Truly.
I think we like started to get, so if I remember correctly, we were like, by the time we were prepping for the trip, it was already super late. Like, I think we were like approaching 3 a.m. or something by that point. And so it was like, I remember we were like, all right, we're just going to we're going to do all of our prep now. We're going to get all the resources. So we're like, okay, what do we need? Let's make a list. All right. Yeah. Stuff to make, like generator, maybe. We don't know. Is there going to be organic when we get there? We have no idea at this point. So like, okay, maybe a little bit of something to power the generator, like maybe bring a small printer, maybe not, like whatever. But we don't really realize just how, I think we didn't know that we could bring an oxygenator yet. I think I remember just tethering to the ship, right?
I think we just stuck pretty well. I can't remember. No, I think we had to have figured that out because
maybe
we had to dig pretty deep to get our resources that we were looking for. I think we must have figured out the oxygenator pretty quickly, or right around that time.
Something that you need to like tether and then put it on a platform, and
Or did we pack ours and take it with us from base? I think that's
maybe we built one and then took one. I really don't remember.
Anyways,
But at a certain, we're getting like, okay, we need to be able to breathe, we need power, we need this. It turns out the Astropedia kind of tells you exactly how good certain planets are at generating different types of power. So like wind levels and, solar levels and stuff like that. So I saw we had at some point made the decision to not go together. We were going to split up because there was something we wanted to build. There's something we wanted to build that we needed resources from both planets.
From 2 planets. Yeah.
And I don't remember what it was. Was it the?
I feel like at that point, after our first trip out to that planet, like we hit the fucking gas. Like we figured it out, and we were firing on all cylinders at that point. And so like that was around the time that we started doing like going and extracting gas from the atmosphere of the planets, and so we needed different gases from different planets, and that's originally why we split up, was to go get those gases.
That's true. Different gas, because we realized that we would need gas at some point. We could extract gas from the atmosphere. We realized like that was when we started building bigger and bigger. We built a shredder. We built like a bunch of stuff on the main planet. Whatever we could whatever we could build on that main planet that we had the research points for, that we had, the resources for, we were building. But what it was? We wanted to build the jetpack.
Oh, yes.
We wanted to build the solid fuel thruster, or the solid fuel jetpack, or whatever booster. And so we were like, cool, we need these gases, we need, these metals, and like, let's just get whatever else we can while we're there. So we're like, pick a planet, let's just roll out, and we fucking get as prepped as we think we can, right? In the small shuttle, you cannot bring a lot. It's basically whatever's on your back plus 1 extra slot in the storage of the shuttle. And you can basically, this shuttle storage lets you bring 1 big thing. And you know what? I'm a fucking dumbass, because the big thing that I brought was a fucking rover that I never even unpacked.
Like, I noticed that.
Actually, I brought the rover to, so decided I was going to go to Glacio, which was the ice planet.
Yeah, that ice planet. I went to the desert one. I can't remember what it's called, like Calidor or something like that.
Oh man.
Yeah.
And just like that feeling of like, all right, buddy, see you when I see it. Just like fucking Predator arm clasp style. Let's fucking get out there and explore the universe, man, for science. Like but we were like riding fucking high, and then it was like we got everything prepped, and we're like, all right, let's go to sleep because it's fucking late as shit or something. Like I think we like broke it there, and then like. But just thought about it. I think we had something to do early, and then immediately, as soon as we could, we were like back on. Dude, let's like do this shit. And dude, landing, like building 2 shuttles. I think we built an extra landing pad because we didn't know if you could take off without one.
Yeah.
Which you can.
Turns out you can't. Yeah.
You just can't.
But you can't come back.
Yeah,
you can't come back to it unless there's one.
I think the other thing is, at what point did we realize the beacons?
Because, oh my god, dude!
So I think it was after the first trip, right? I think we had. Yeah. So here's what happened: we had built beacons because we didn't know what they would be for, right? We knew we could mark shit, and I was marking. You had built a rover or a tractor, and I was marking resources on the surface of the planet. On our starting planet, so you could drive over and get them, like research materials, different resources, wind turbines, even whatever I could find. When I realized it was a problem that beacons and like shit like that, like having a trail was helpful, because I jumped in a rover on our starting planet, drove the fuck around, and realized I was lost as shit. Like, could not fucking find my way back. Like, I'd just been underground, I'd been every fucking which way, and you can't tether with the rover. You're just there's no trail, so you're just
so like, the rover provides oxygen, produces oxygen for you, but only when you get off of it, if you go more than like 5 feet away from it, then you have broken that tether and you no longer are getting oxygen.
And you cannot tether to the vehicle.
You can't drop a tether to keep going from there.
So I was just like, fuck, like I have no resources, no nothing, and I do not know my way back. And so we had the beacons already, and we had a general idea that, hey, this is, we need this to do shit, but we didn't know what that meant. So if I remember correctly, basically what happened was, what's up?
I just fucking forgot. My groceries are getting delivered here in a minute.
Oh, that's fine. Yeah, I could literally edit that shit out.
Yeah.
It's funny that you did that, because I scheduled mine to come tomorrow morning for that very reason.
Yeah.
So like we're like getting ready, like the beacon thing. I think what made it, was it the first? So that happened before my first trip into space, I think.
Yeah, that did.
What happened was when I realized when I accidentally flew off into space and then came back, I realized that I didn't know where to land.
Yeah. And well, so before we get to that, the one cool thing about when you got lost, I was back at base, so to get you back, we used like celestial navigation, like looking up at the sky and seeing the planets. The other planets that you can travel to revolving around yours, and I guided him back, or we guided talked it out to get him back to the home base. Using those planets.
There was a moment where I almost perished also, because I drove the fucking buggy into a deep ass canyon and then could not drive it out and had to like dig a ramp out of there so I could bring the bug, because I had no lifeline without the buggy. Like, it was my oxygen source. It was coming with me, or I was not going anywhere at all, because that'd be my new home now. Dude. And I think it was that reason. It was me getting lost and getting stuck in that crevasse. That was the reason that we wanted to build the jetpack, because we thought maybe we'd be able to boost out of shit like that, like if we fell or whatever. And I was just like, so guided back, finally, fucking home sweet home. Long time no see, brother. Literally, I was lost for like an hour. It was like an actual hour of fucking real life time. Get back, and I'm like, Jesus Christ. Yeah, these beacons are a fucking lifesaver. So then go into space and realize, oh fuck, I don't know where to land. I had no it doesn't, when you're in space, you can't see icons of anything except for your home base. And we didn't realize that beacons would also contribute to that. So I think at some point we like flew out to space, right, and didn't leave a beacon, so we didn't remember what our fucking base was. But anyway, so we're like, cool, we're going to different planets. We're fucking prepped. We're ready. We take off. It's fucking dope. We're like doing our own thing, completely separate from each other on different fucking celestial bodies, just like landing.
Turned into single player games for a second there.
For real, honestly, so you landed on desert planet. Fucking, what's the first thing you did? You're just like,
I mean, well, like dropped all of the shit that I had because like we packed all like you know like our a little mobile base essentially, like all of your essentials, just dropped everything, like and then I immediately went into the caves.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. There you go.
Yeah. And so like I started digging around in there and bringing up all these different research materials and stuff, because turns out when you're on a different planet, the research materials from those foreign planets give you more research points. And so that was huge. And that helped us a lot because we were able to research all of these like mid-game items a lot quicker by going to these other planets. And especially I feel like 2 different planets, I feel like that really helped us out. Sorry, go ahead.
It boosted us for sure. Like what was interesting was like, so, you know, I'm not much of a cave person at all at this point in the game. So I'm like, you know, I'm running along the surface of I land on this fucking desolate ass ice planet, which is still my favorite planet in the game, dude. That place is
pretty cool.
Something really cozy about it. Good pun. And there's something really cozy about it. And it's just like, you're there. It's weird. It's windy. It's like the sun comes up and it's super bright. And like it was like my landing zone was perfect. It was just like this big crater.
Oh yeah.
And I'm just like, cool. Okay, well, I'm here now. I don't know what the fuck's going on, but here I am, like setting up this base, like building what I can. Basically, it's almost like you're starting the game over every single time you land on a new planet.
Yeah.
Except, so it's around this time I think we realized that no matter what planet you're on, you can gather the resources necessary to survive, basically.
Yes.
Maybe even to get yourself off, because I think the stuff you need to build a thruster could be found on any planet. I think that's correct. All you need is a small printer.
Yeah, but I can't remember what the resources that you need to build it, whether those are found on every planet or not, because it's some type of metal. But
I feel like, I want to say that they basically made it to where you could never get stranded.
Yeah, I think which would be smart.
but it would take you a while. Like if you accidentally damaged your thruster and you just fucking landed somewhere, it would take you a long time because you don't have, like, you know, you would basically have to rebuild up everything in order to be able to build that thruster and get. So it would take you a while. But so like, you know, it turns out you can get organic on any planet somehow. You can get the stuff you need to build tethers, which is not resin but the other one, compound. You can get compound on any planet, which is like a gray. I think it's worth saying now too that like the sounds when you vacuum shit up and it like turns into a resource, there's a different sound for every resource,
for each one.
Every resource, and it makes like a chime, like a bing, or like a, you know, like a whatever.
Whenever you complete a whole one.
Oh man,
the sound design in the game is pretty good.
I think it's worth kind of transitioning into that discussion, which is like, the game, it looks generally it looks okay. It's like an art style. It's like kind of cartoony, but you know, it pulls you in like that. It's like charming. But what really pulled us in, I think, was the like tactility of everything, which I think is essential with the sound design, like sucking in the dirt with like the vacuum gun, and it like, you know, or like the bing of the, got it. Okay, cool.
Yeah, this is it.
Sorry, no, you're good.
Man. I'll be right back.
Yeah. All right, buddy. How are we feeling?
Sorry, pal.
No, you're good. Easy edit.
Dude, so they
might just leave it in for comedy.
You should. Yeah. A good fucking 15-minute silence.
Yep. What's up?
So I fucking ordered a bag of broccoli, like steam in the bag broccoli thing. You know what I'm talking about? Broccoli, it's that green.
I'm leaving this
vegetable.
Part in for sure.
Yeah, that green vegetable.
I've heard of it.
They fucking deliver it. I pull it out of the bag and I'm like, dude, this shit is like, this is gross. What is going on with this bag of broccoli? It's like slimy. There's like liquid in it and shit.
Oh, they like completely thawed?
No, it was a like refrigerated, like fresh broccoli,
okay.
not frozen. And I look at the expiration date, and that shit expired in June.
Oh my god.
June 4th, 2020. It's the fucking 13th of September. I was like, what the hell? So fortunately, Amazon's pretty damn easy about it, and I just marked that it was spoiled, and they just refunded me straight out without anything and just throw it away. So.
Not tasty.
Yeah. Did not taste good.
Mark the not tasty button.
Hashtag
damn, that's
not
weird.
Amazon fresh.
I ordered like, I mean, I don't know how much groceries you got. I ordered like $60 of groceries, and I was like,
that's not what I got.
Are they really gonna check all this stuff to see if it's good? This is actually my first time doing it. I usually just walk to the fucking store.
Oh, dude, it's money. It's so nice.
It's actually, the groceries are cheaper on there than they are at the Mariano's, the grocery store near me. And man, they just fucking the delivery fee basically makes it the same because they're cheaper on Amazon than they are at the Mariano's. But like the delivery,
you don't get free delivery.
Oh yeah, that's true. Yeah. Oh, never mind. Net positive, net win.
Yeah, I mean, like you tip them like.
Yeah, that's true.
And usually comes out to be like $5 or $7, which to me is fucking
$7. Yeah, totally.
Damn. Yeah, no. So like, if you order some weird like obscure shit, sometimes they'll mix it up. This time is the first time that I've had this issue, which is kind of honestly a benefit. I usually get those like frozen pizzas, like the cheapo frozen pizzas.
Yeah, I got a DiGiorno one in my order.
I get like the Amazon 365 or whatever their like bullshit brand is, you know, and so like they're pretty small. They're like about the size of like a Totino's pizza, pretty much, just with like a little better quality ingredients. But they dropped off like 2 massive fucking full-size frozen pizzas.
Oh, cool.
That are huge and had to be substantially more expensive.
Yeah.
The only thing weird about it is they're square pizzas,
Oh.
not round, which is interesting, but
probably fits
cool
in the oven
nonetheless.
better.
Yeah, but I use a pizza stone.
Oh,
so
that's right.
my pizza stone's round. So.
That's right, buddy. You got to get a second pizza stone and lay it across.
That's right. I do, yeah.
Lay them,
all right, viewers,
next to each other like a Venn diagram.
Listeners, if you are not familiar with pizza stone, do yourselves a favor. Invest in one.
I like barely have a concept for what it is.
It's me.
You just put it in the oven with the pizza, right?
Yeah, so like you put the pizza stone in the oven beforehand and preheat it in the oven.
Yeah.
And so then it has like a solid surface that conducts heat and like holds it, and so it allows you to get like a more thoroughly cooked crust, essentially. Which is, it's good. It's good.
Yeah.
Good.
I mean, listen, if I'm eating frozen pizza anyway, chances are I'm already making a mistake. I don't think I'm gonna put a frozen pizza on the pizza stone. Maybe if I was doing that thing where I make my own dough and then do the whole thing.
Yeah. Well, I do that too. That's the big reason why I have it. Yeah. However, it does.
It's useful for the other thing. Yeah.
Have you heard about, instead of like microwaving pizza to reheat it, pan frying it to reheat it?
Yeah.
Have you ever done that?
That's my mom's go-to method.
It's supposedly the best. Like if you like throw like a sheet of tinfoil over the pan, drop pizza in first, tinfoil over the top.
Yep.
Pan fry it.
Yeah, because it gets the crust not soggy and weird. Mm-hmm. And then if you put it in the oven, it gets weird and dry. Mm-hmm. I feel like the crust usually gets fucked up somehow.
Yeah, or the sauce like dries out on the pizza.
Yeah. Well, fun pizza interlude here. We're all about fun here on the Infinite Scale Podcast Network. Welcome back. I'm just gonna cut out the 15 minutes of silence and leave everything else. Just us talking about pizza, whatever. Yeah. Well, we're back. Groceries safely in hand, and I IP'd, so that was nice.
Nice.
Yeah, thanks, man. I've been drinking a lot of water today because I should be hungover, but I'm not. I don't know what happened there. I drank too much, but cool. So we were talking about Astroneer. I think we had just gotten to the new planets at this point, and you're absolutely right when you said it turned into a single player game. Like Astroneer immediately became a different thing at that point, which is really pretty funny because up till then we'd sort of been working together on everything, right? Like on literally everything, and then we just ended up on different planets and basically building many new bases. Like we basically just had to kind of restart. It was around this time that we figured out, research generated from shit you find on other planets is worth way more than the starting planet. Especially because we like skipped. I think we skipped. There was another easy planet, which was like a moon or something that we didn't go to, and we went straight to like medium.
Yes. Yeah. We went. Yeah. Well, were they hard
Medium
or
or
were they?
hard? They might have even been hard. Yeah.
I think they might have even been hard. Like we went straight into it.
We did, which was interesting. So, and I think it was around this time that we realized as well that I think we felt pretty confident at this point that there weren't going to be aliens in this game.
Yeah.
It didn't really seem like there would be any living creatures.
Which, how do you feel about that? Do you wish that there were? Or no?
I don't know, man. I mean, part of me is always like, hey, it'd be cool to have something, to interact with or something to fight or whatever. But this game doesn't really seem like it's about that. Like, this isn't even like, I mean, this shares DNA, of course, with like games like Minecraft and Terraria and stuff like that, and the survival crafting building games. But there's no like enemy necessarily. There's some hazards for sure, oxygen, the environment. You can fall and kill yourself. But I think they definitely wanted to keep it more on the realistic side of like the idea of space exploration, which is like, hey, there might be at the most, I think as a group in real life as humans, we assume probably that if there are intelligent life out there, they probably don't take the form that we imagine them to, right? Like little alien, or kind of humanoids or whatever. But we also probably imagine that if they exist, they probably exist somewhere so far beyond the scope of our understanding of the universe that we'll never come into contact with them, right? Yeah. But I think it's a safe assumption that at some point we're going to come into maybe fauna or something like, or witness the like, which I mean, we maybe already have. I'm not up to date on my space knowledge.
Yeah,
but,
me neither.
I mean, I think, they've always talked about how Mars used to be a planet kind of like Earth, right? Which is some fucked up shit. But Mars used to have water, right? Which, and if there's water somewhere, there's probably life there. You know what I mean? In some variety, maybe there was a plant or something. So Astroneer does it like. Well, what do you think? You asked me, so I'm curious if you agree with that or not. But
I do. I think that Astroneer would be a lot more terrifying of a game if there were enemies, because
it's already pretty scary.
It is. It definitely can be pretty scary, and the stakes feel very high, even though they're not terribly high, honestly.
Yeah, they do. But you're like, I don't want to. I mean, you could get set back for sure if you. If you lose and you can't get back to the resources on your bag or something like that. But I think it's scary more in the sense that just the scale and scope of things is kind of overwhelming once you really start to dig into it. It was. I think there was a certain point in time where we realized the caves go really fucking deep and they're dark and there are actually things that will hurt you. So Astroneer, there's plant life that on the starting planets, I think it starts off with stuff that kind of explodes in your vicinity and will splash damage you, and you could die from it if you're not careful. If you walk up to it, it'll explode. Those things are just kind of creepy looking. They're like purple and pimply and you just don't. The first time you're in a cave and you see it, you're like, what the fuck am I looking at?
Yeah.
And the oppressive nature of the caves and just how boxed in you feel, and it's dark and you can barely see, and the whole thing adds up to like me. I was at the beginning, I was like, I don't fucking want to go in the caves. That seems miserable. I'm a surface dweller.
If you take a work light, you're good.
Yeah, we'll get to the fucking work light. Don't worry. So I think it was like, I think it was around this time we started to realize there probably wouldn't be hostile life in that variety. It's just, plants that kind of react to your presence. There is a plant that shoots toxic shit at you, which is, I don't like the sound of it.
Poison clouds. Yeah, it kind of sounds like it's like farting at you.
Yeah, it does.
That's kind of gross.
All the plants that are hostile in this game generally look pretty fucking weird in a way that I do not want to be near them. So
but does a good job.
You can, if you dig out the ground or whatever surface they're attached to, they die.
They die,
which is
and
cool.
Usually leave behind some research stuff for you.
And get some research points.
Like a reward.
Yeah, and I think it was, so we're kind of establishing our bases, getting that new gas that we needed on these planets, getting research point. Dude, we started to fucking bankroll research points right
Yeah,
about now.
we had a ton.
Like,
Like 20, 30,000
yeah,
research points. We're just like, we don't even know what the fuck to research at this
yeah,
point, because at that point we had an abundance of research points and a lack of resources to actually build anything that we were researching.
and
So
we were like, what the fuck? We were like,
yeah,
it was. And I think what really became interesting was like that feeling like, okay, I'm on this new planet, I'm on my own, and I'm just making my way in the universe, getting research points, setting little new mini goals on this planet. Hey, I need to get this, I need to get that. But the main thing was like we showed up to gather particular resources. And so I remember there was a moment where we're like, cool, we need to find these resources that we came here for. And it took a while. Like this was like a few hour situation, like several out. Like it had been like we didn't see each other for a long time.
Yeah, no, it was many hours of gameplay. Well, because I mean, like it was kind of cool because we landed in those in each of those planets and kind of like we like modeled our bases like as we would, because on Silva it was like it was like a joint effort, and so we were kind of having to like come together to design it. And then whenever we landed in our separate planets, we were like, cool, let's just fucking make it however we want to make it, and we can go from there. And so we spent a good minute setting it up and kind of getting established there, and then like exploring and kind of doing our own thing. And then eventually we're like, all right, time to go down and get this shit and get what we came here for, because it was shit. It could very easily become it's very easy. It could very easily become like a single player game if you let it. Like you can 100%. Nothing really requires two people to do.
Not at all.
You can do everything with one. Yeah.
You just feel. I mean, it's more. I'm sure it's a more. The cooperative experience of this game is more enjoyable because you're with your friend, you're shooting shit, right?
Yeah, definitely. Kind of and you're experiencing these things together.
Yes. And it was around this time that we came up with the idea to have streams going. So we were Discord screen sharing, so we could see what the other person was doing while they were on the other planet, which was like really cool because I would just hear you be like, "Oh fuck," and I would like look, and you're like getting shot by the gas plant or whatever, or you know what I mean, and I'm like, oh Jesus, I'm
falling down a cliff or something.
And I think I was like just canvassing the surface of this tundra because I started to find like this was the first time I started to notice those like a large abundance of those boxes where you where you put a resource and then something or power it or something and then they pop open and you get something out of it. That was how I found those initial super huge boost research objects. They were like metal and they had like a blue light in the middle. You remember that? And and it was like I was just loading them up on the research thing, and they were, I mean, part of this was because I didn't have that much power, because like I was running, there was almost no sun on this planet, so I was running entirely wind. So if the wind was blowing, I had the most powered base in the entire universe. The instant that shit died down, bro, I was like, well, just sitting in the dark.
Yep, got about AA batteries worth of power.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I had a generator. I had a generator that would power me for maybe 3 minutes, or not a generator, a battery. It was like charged up, and then it would drain almost immediately. And but those research things, that was the first time we had one that would take like an hour or more, or like if it was fully powered, maybe like 20-30 minutes. But and those, fuck, man. And so I mean, this is the time in the game where I think I spent the most time just being like, fuck, this game is so fucking good. Like, just like every 3 seconds, I'm just like, new thing to chase. And it's easy to get distracted, like you said. So I think one thing, a thing that happened that I really want to talk about is this. There was this moment where we're like, cool, I think we're ready to leave. And then we go, oh my God, we have to build beacons or we won't know where our bases are.
Yes.
On this planet. So add like an extra 2 hours onto us spending time on this planet trying to find motherfucking quartz to build fucking beacons. Like, and it's funny because I feel like it's literally just all luck. Like, just start digging somewhere and you're bound to find something, right? Like, you're bound to find something. But
yeah. And so I haven't done a lot of research into it, but I think for different planets there are different like levels of the Earth's crust that those things those types of resources will spawn in.
So we know that the planets are randomly generated vaguely, like in the exact the exact location of the terrain, but the resources that are on them are fixed. Some resources like quartz is found on every planet. And they also tell you if you go, I believe, to, was it the Wikipedia or does the Astropedia?
I think it's the Wikipedia. The Astropedia won't tell you.
If you go to the Astropedia, it'll tell you what layer of the planet's crust it's in, right? So like
the Wikipedia. Yeah,
but does it differ for each planet? So like, would quartz be higher on some planets and lower on others?
See, that I don't know. So that was the part that I was saying. I haven't done the research for it because I'm not sure, but I do know that is the case for like metal resources like iron or copper or whatever that would be. Some are like closer to the surface, some are like very, very deep, like into the core.
Well, it took me a long time to realize that the smartest way, so like when you first start digging for something, you tend to pick a spot that's convenient and seems good and is already kind of a cave, right? Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? Like, you're not just going to start digging at the dirt on top. You're not just going to dig your own pit from start.
Well, I do.
Like, you can. But what's funny is that it turns out that that's like the least efficient way, period, of doing things, unless you find like a surface material that indicates that there's something below it, right? So like, if you find like you see resin sticking out of the ground, chances are if you keep digging and digging and digging and digging, you'll build a pit, and you might strike below. You might enter into a cave below that. But like. A bunch of resin's going to be there if you see something sticking out, right? So like you do that. But like, I didn't realize until way too late that if they generate those caves in a way to kind of funnel you to where the resources are, right? So like a cave opening or a mouth is generally a good indication that you're going to find something rather than just digging raw straight from fucking ground level. You know what I mean? Because you could just end up anywhere. Right. So like you can kind of like there was this kind of mouth, this small opening into the underground near where my base was on the ice planet. And after like a decent bit of digging, I just fucking burst into this massive room. And like, I could see, you do that thing where you're like looking in the distance, like it's fucking pitch black, but you can kind of see stuff reflecting off of maybe your flashlight or something like that. And it's just like, mother lode, quartz, like just ahoy, like off the starboard bow. Like, you have like just those moments where you're just like surveying the land, trying to figure out what direction, because these caves are fucking massive.
Oh my god, they're huge, and they're so deep.
So that's the other thing is like so the layers, it took me a while to realize that if you go into a layer and you're in a big cavern, finding another cave opening that leads to another layer is the best way of getting deeper rather than just digging straight. You know what I mean? Like, it's just, they just basically have designed it to be more convenient, but they don't tell you that, which is smart because then you're a dumbass like me and you're just like, I'm just going to dig into any old wall, and then you get nothing, right? Or whatever. Or you're stuck in the middle layer crust somewhere or whatever. But we spent a fucking long ass time looking for quartz, dude.
Yeah, like, quartz was a journey for real.
And then built a beacon so we could get back to our bases, right? But
now that's like step one on the list. Anywhere we go, we're like, all right, make a fucking beacon.
Get a beacon in advance, because fuck that. And what we would later find out is that if you build a landing pad, it kind of indicates.
Or a shelter.
So it gives you, so you don't need a beacon, you just need something, right?
It just depends on how like permanent of an establishment you are trying to make on that.
And honestly, like you could also, if you're a fucking supercomputer, a human supercomputer, you could remember where you landed, I guess. The problem is that from orbit, it seems impossible to tell the difference between the different landing zones, like geographically. But I mean, I don't know, maybe it's possible.
Yeah, maybe. Yeah, so whenever you first get into a planet, you like enter the atmosphere of the planet, and you're just kind of orbiting overhead.
Yeah.
And there are several predetermined points that you can land on that planet.
Basically like flat land.
Yeah, and those are the only places that you can land until you build a landing pad
Yeah.
and drop it elsewhere, and then you can land on that landing pad on that planet at any time. So as long as it's not occupied, but yeah, and so
for sure.
And that kind of became a thing that kind of sucked with having two people and trying to take two people to a planet. When we started doing that was when you land your ship on that point, your ship is occupying that landing spot, and so you either have to build a landing pad and take it with you to drop so your friend can land there.
Yeah.
Or what we also later found out is you can just move your ship off of that landing point and then your friend can land there, which is probably a little bit easier.
Yeah.
A little bit easier of a way to handle it.
And I mean, I think it was around this, like, we came to that conclusion of moving it off because you don't need a landing pad to take off just to land. Right. So it doesn't really matter where you take off from at all.
Yeah, you can take off from anywhere as long as you're on like level ground and can get in your ship. You're good.
Yeah. But, so build quartz, build a beacon, and we're like, all right, I guess let's go. Meet back up at home. Yeah. And I mean, this was like a full day, like 6-ish hours of game time of us just like not seeing each other.
Yeah.
And like flying and landing back at base, and a re fucking clasping of the arms, like just like, what's up, brother? Like,
it's good
successful
to be back.
mission. Yeah, like that kind of thing. And it was super nice to be home. I also never went back to that ice planet.
I did. I went to the ice planet.
So we
you didn't
swapped.
Go? Okay.
Remember, we were like, we traded off to go get different resources.
That's
so
right. Yeah.
Later you would go to the ice planet and I would go to your desert planet. And I just remember showing up and being like, bro, what the fuck is your base, dude? Like, your base is a piece of shit. It's just like, it's like a fucking mess. It's laid out like garbage. Half your resources blown across the fucking field.
Well, okay. And so that's the other thing is like, if you don't build resource storage on certain planets, the wind is really high. And so it literally blows your shit across the planet.
Yes.
And I think, so I don't know for sure, but I think what actually happens with it is like when it's not in your view, it just fucking like teleports it elsewhere. Because one time I was down in like the depths of a cave on that planet and there was one of my resources that had blown away off the surface. And I was like, how the fuck did this get down here?
Yeah, I mean, maybe. I mean,
it's possible that it just humbled its way down there somehow, but like it just seemed so like too good to be true kind of a thing.
I agreed. I noticed some similar stuff where it would just be like random shit showing up, but I mean, who knows? And the physics are a little wonky sometimes. Like shit will kind of glitch out a little bit. Stuff will get a little bit fucked up, but it generally it's not too bad. It's mostly stable. So. But so, but we got back to base, and I think we just this was around the time when we started trying to involve B. Paul and Sean into this, once we'd gotten right back to the base. And, what we learned is that it's really difficult to get someone in on the late game of this, because then they're basically just our employees.
Yeah, they don't really have an investment in it. Like,
no.
We've spent all the time like laying the groundwork and discovering, and like that is the
fun of it.
Like we said, that's like the most enjoyable part, is getting in and like learning and getting hands on and everything. And so they showed up and like we're already in the fucking space age. Like, researched all this shit. We have all this cool stuff, and they are just like reaping the benefits without having to do any of the work, kind of a thing, which, I mean, this isn't their fault. It's what we threw them in.
Yeah, totally. Well, we just didn't, we knew a lot of the structure of the game by that point, which I think discovering just how vast things can go is like part of the initial hook. Right. Mm-hmm. But what I think we robbed them of being able to build a base, which I think is also where the investment comes from.
Definitely.
But so basically around this time, we're getting them in, we're trying to explain everything we figured out thus far, but we don't know everything. So we're like half explaining a bunch of shit, and they're like overwhelmed because they've been in for 2 seconds. So we've got this big ass built up base that's like a fucking wreck, by the way. Like, this was before we did our organization pass. So like we just had like shit everywhere, just found stuff, just throw it on the ground. Who fucking cares? Like, we're just like, we might need that later, I don't know. Like, had no concept for how to like organize or store things, or like what made sense for storage, because you don't even know what you're gonna build next or what you might need. So like just like a fucking mess. We started digging the resource pits, so we were just throwing shit into large holes. And yeah, so we had what, B-Paul and Shannon for a little bit. I think it was first B-Paul, and this was around the time that we're like, okay, well, we're still on this. Hey, we need resources from all these planets, so we're gonna have to visit every one of these planets at least once.
Yeah.
So I need something that you got a little bit of it, but you didn't get a bunch from your planet.
Correct. Yeah, I found like a super small vein of what we needed, and it had just been such a long time that we were just like, fuck it, that's enough. Like, we'll come back later if we need more.
So we kind of wind up back at base, like building a bunch of shit, trying to figure out how stuff works. I think this was when you built the big rig.
The massive rover.
Yeah.
That thing is
dumb.
Awesome.
It's also perfect.
I love it.
Yeah.
I love it. All of the like the land vehicles in this game are my favorite by far. I love them. They're just so fun to just drive around and play like interstellar fucking trucker and
just grab shit. You can hitch trailers to the back and like just start dragging shit around.
Stream of trailers behind you that you're just dragging a
fucking train, a land train.
It's so fun. It's so much fun.
And I mean, we just started, and then and there's basically peaks and valleys with this game where if you don't find an immediate goal or something you're really excited to work towards, you kind of lose sight of what you're doing, and then it becomes like, this is maybe, it stops. It's baseline. This game is really good, but it stops being amazing once you don't really know what you're trying to do or trying to accomplish, or
you don't have that clear direction to
exactly, which is entirely our fault. Like, we weren't making things up to do, right? But it's also partially the game not really, like, there's definitely stuff that like I see, like the robotics stuff or the automation stuff. I don't know that I really have any interest in dabbling in that. Maybe we will. We haven't really fucked with that at all. Might be interesting to try it out if we feel like taking the time. But there's definitely stuff that, like, you don't feel incentivized to do. Like, so I think transitioning into that, we'll talk about so planets, once you kind of realize what you need, you really have no incentive to explore much more, right? So it's kind of just like we kind of realized this on Silva twice, because it was like me driving around and not really seeing anything that interesting except for that geometric thing sticking out of the ground, which, by the way, we did realize that is on every planet, right? Yeah. Those fucking alien structures are on every single planet. Every single. But there was a time when I remember you were like, I'm going to drive with the truck and take a portable shelter that we just researched and built and like figure out what is on this planet, like maybe set up a second base or something like that. And your base looked cool as fuck. Yeah, it was. It was cool. It was interesting. And I mean, it was like a fun way to spend time. However, like this is just one of those games where I feel like there's no real benefit to creating a second base on the same planet. Not at all. You basically realize wherever you land on a planet the first time, you will have everything that you like. There's no, you don't gain anything from having multiple bases or canvassing the whole planet. Like, you just don't. Yeah. And I mean, maybe that will change. And I think with some of the things that we've discovered recently in the game, maybe moving locations of your base from your initial starting location may be beneficial. Maybe. We'll kind of see where that goes. But yeah, and so it was cool. It was enjoyable. Like, I enjoyed going out and checking it out and just exploring and looking for shit. But you dug a hole in the side of that mountain and built like a mountainside base, which looked cozy as fuck and pretty neat. It was pretty cool. Yeah, it was. But very scenic. You basically, like, I think we logged out when you were like at that base, and then the next time we logged in, you just packed shit up and came back. I just fucking packed everything up and came right back. There's like no point in this, really. Like, so that was kind of a bummer to realize. I think is basically just like you picking where you start on a planet is really just picking the environment that you want to start in. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like the version of that planet that you want to have, because there's no point. Surface exploration isn't really incentivized all that much. You can find some surface resources. You can find, like we were talking about, the crashed rovers and the different things that have like whole items on them or whatever.
Yeah, and I think in the early game, that's huge,
Yeah.
because you haven't researched those things, or you don't have the resources to build those things, and some of them can be like very game changing at that time.
Agreed.
But once you can build that shit, it's like,
Yeah.
I'll just fucking spend some dirt and build it. Like,
Yeah. And even then, you know, 9 times out of 10, like, there's more important shit to be doing than just slowly meandering your way across the surface of a planet.
Yeah, definitely.
So that was kind of a bummer. We discovered that, and it sort of took the wind out a little bit once we... So let me back up. We did that, and then we kind of were like, okay, well, now we need to go to every planet and set up a small base, right? Like, just like what we did before.
Yeah.
So I think we switched the first time. I think our first new expedition was... I'm trying to remember. Did we go to a totally new planet once together and then off on our own again?
Yes, yeah, I believe so. And I don't recall which planet it was. Because the last planet that I remember that we went to together was the gas planet.
Yeah, well, there's let's just look.
Yeah,
let's just look at what all the planets are so I can. Okay. Yeah. So you start out in Silva.
Oh, we went to the moon of Silva.
Well, we did that
together.
But I felt like that wasn't. Was that next? Did we do that next? Because there's but there's a lot. There's a lot going on, and Silva, and then we went to you went to Calidor, and I went to Glacio, and we got what we needed from those places, and then I think we went to we did go to the moon at some point, which felt pretty pointless, other than we needed one thing, which I think maybe was a gas, or was it wolframite?
Yeah, we were looking. Yeah, it was.
Which turns into tungsten. It's tungsten. Yeah, so we were just trying to find like some shit, and we basically set up we repeated the same thing that we'd been doing that whole time, which was setting up new bases but on different planets. And it was basically like a version of that same loop over and over again, which is fun every time.
Yeah.
But at a certain point, it becomes kind of rote. And once you've been to every planet, then the mystery is all gone, right? Like, we now have a base on every planet in the game. And we've also gotten to a point with most resources where we can find ways to make them or trade them with scrap. Like, if you get the big shredders and then shred shit down into scrap, you can trade for resources. Like, we've at this point kind of hit, or I think just before our session today, we hit like a point where we were like maybe not really going to continue with the game, because it felt like we'd seen all the intrigue, right?
Yeah, agreed. Yeah, it felt like we didn't have anything left, really. Like, it was just at that point it would be automation if that was our goal, which, like we said, we're kind of not really interested in.
I mean, maybe we'll fuck around with that at some point, but yeah, at the moment we're not that interested in that. So I think this is a good spot to say that this is probably only going to be part one of this discussion, because we have a renewed interest in the game through those alien ruins that we mentioned.
Yes.
Which is, basically we kind of made a beeline to each planet to get the resource, including Atrox, which is the hardest planet to get. We gathered a bunch of gas that we need to like combine into make other resources and all this stuff. Like, we basically just got everything we could really quick, in kind of just this huge like a space race type situation. We're just like furiously going to different planets, building up really quick, like getting what we can, getting the fuck out and going back home, just so we can research everything and build everything and whatever. Most of it was because we wanted to build the RTG, which was the generator that you start with on your starting base. That we realized you could build it and then kind of take it around with you wherever you want to go, and you basically have at least a trickle of infinite power. As long as it's on a platform or a vehicle or something. But yeah, so we've hit this point where we built the RTG, and we're like, okay, what's the last thing we want to do in this game, or finger quotes last thing, right? We're like, well, let's figure out what those fucking ruins are all about, you know. And we had discovered, I think at some point you'd driven a vehicle over there to like plug it in and see what happens, and nothing happened. And I brought like a generator over once and like plugged it in, fucking not shit. And so we built 2 RTGs in our session today and took them over there on your big ass 18-wheeler and fucking plugged it into a ruin, to one of those alien ruins things, and it like hummed and then
started doing
some
started
wild
moving
shit.
Started doing some crazy stuff,
moving and shaking, but moving and shaking. And it activated like this thing that kind of was a map of the planet with other locations of the ruins. And you're like, okay. And we jumped in the vehicle, drove our happy asses over to a different ruin, plugged that bad boy in again, same shit. And then I accidentally clicked something and fucking teleported back to the first one we activated.
Yeah.
And now we're trying to figure out what the fuck that's all about.
Yeah.
Which I think... What's up?
Oh, just currently burrowing to the center of the earth to see...
Yeah.
See about that one in there. Down at the core.
Which I think it's like a new mystery, right? Which is exciting.
Yeah.
It's like, what do these things do? And... You know, we read the wiki a little bit to get an idea, and it was like, okay, well, you need to activate this thing at the center of the planet. How the fuck do you get the center of the planet? Just dig, I guess. So we've been massively digging, like big ass dig operation.
Yeah. Which is
a Bado.
The title of our band.
Yeah, Bado, big ass dig operation.
Yeah.
Yeah, dude, it's I think we're excited about the game, which is why we kind of wanted to record a little bit today, because we're like riding high off of playing it again.
Yes.
And sure. I think we could have like a quick part 2 addendum where we kind of wrap up and talk about our thoughts of the whole thing. Maybe who knows? Maybe there's like a narrative hook at the end or something. I don't fucking know.
I'm interested to find out, and that's cool to have that feeling again, because it was that was just such a strong like carrying for this game. It was just like exploration, finding and learning, and then it kind of died off, and now we found something new to kind of latch onto and
drag us back in.
Yeah, and so and I think maybe we took just enough of a break to still remember where we were in the game, but like just long enough to miss it. So
agreed.
It's good.
Yeah, agreed. And like, I mean, we've already kind of I think in wrapping up, we've definitely been pretty glowing overall about this game. Like, even the flaws of this game don't feel like they are dings against the quality of it. Like, the way it makes you feel, it's almost like the whole is greater entirely than the sum of its parts. Like, each individual thing, like the interface is kind of shitty. It's hard to grapple with stuff. It's hard to figure out. Some of the controls are weird and bad, but like none of that stuff really gets in the way of the enjoyment at all. This is like, I would hate to be like a someone who was like assigned this game to review or so, you know what I mean? Like, imagine you're like working your fucking IGN desk, and some guy's like, I don't know, nobody wants to review Astroneer. You want to review Astroneer? And you're like, fucking fine. And then what do you even say? Like, how do you actually dock points for things that, you're in the moment, you're like, man, fuck, I wish I could read this better, or I wish this was easier to use, but also it doesn't like take away anything. So you're just kind of like, it's, I don't know, almost like that's how it's supposed to be, right?
Yeah.
Like, for every time I get annoyed with something, I then do the little thing where you have to push a button and it makes you flip
the cover.
Yeah, dude, you got to click a button twice, which is good UX, because it's like, so you don't do something on accident, right? But it's also like the tactility, like flip the cover up and then push the button.
The noises for everything has an individual noise, and like picking something up off of your backpack makes like a suction cup noise, and like as you pick it up and place it again, and oh my god, it's just so many good. And the light, dude, the work light. God.
Oh yeah, we forgot to talk about the fucking work light, man. I'm glad you spent fucking Tyler. I'm gonna spend 3,000 research points on getting this work light. I think it'll be helpful when I go down in my caves and fucking set the work light up. That shit's like a dim ass Edison bulb in terms of fucking visibility. Like it basically it's like if you had like a one of those tiny child sized flashlights, but like half of it was broken.
Or those like hand crank flashlights where you like squeeze, you have to like squeeze the handle on it to charge it.
Remember in like growing up in high school, there'd be those kids who just have a bunch of random shit on their keys. Yeah. Somebody having like one of those key flashlights.
Yes.
Like, what even has that ever come in handy for you? Or
that work light was the one that the stick one that does like the 360 that we put on our guns. That's a good one.
What did I even do with mine?
I think it may still be on there. It's on the top. We left I put mine on the top.
I might have like put mine down somewhere and then forgot to fucking. I need to build another one of those. Yeah, you're right. Yeah. There's like a stick light that you can have sticking out of your backpack that like illuminates massively.
Yeah,
that would have been really helpful.
Like 360, and it's a game changer for sure. But the work light is like one of those like ground spotlights, like almost like a construction. Like you see them like yellow, and they're like yellow and black lights that you see on construction like job sites and everything. And, but it just does not have a lot of light output, unfortunately.
No, it's.
And I was like so dead set on it being such a great idea, and wasted so many resources trying to build this
and time.
And
then you put it out, and I'm like, oh yeah, buddy. Fucking rad. Like
nice, good work, dude.
Yeah, check it out, dude. I'm doing some work over here, and this work light's really helping me out. It was like imperceptible on the surface of the planet. Yeah, like when you turn it on, if you're not below ground, it doesn't even look like it's fucking on.
Yeah.
Oh man.
But work light.
Yeah, I think that's the thing that we can't really like. We can't sell this in podcast form because it's actually impossible. Like you can detect that we're enthusiastic about this, but the number of times that we have like erupted into ridiculous laughter over this game, like, or just been like, this is so fucking good. Like we're just like working, mutually working, and one of us just stops and we're like, man, this fucking game, dude. Like, it's just it's a feeling that I want everyone to have in video games because it comes along so rarely as an adult. Like,
truly,
you feel like you're like, remember you're a child, you're playing your favorite game for the first time again, or you're playing, I felt this way. I think the last time I played that Outer Wilds game, that like single player space exploration, like another space thing. Like I felt that way playing that, where I was just like, I cannot fucking imagine someone who didn't like this game or like had it spoiled for them or what, like just like the feeling of like that little nugget of warmth that you get when you're like, fuck, I really enjoy a video game again. So fucking rare. Because 9 times out of 10, what happens, you get something like, I don't know, like fucking Valorant or something where you're just like miserable the whole time because other humans are ruining it. Yeah. But I think that's a good part one for that. Thanks, Tyler.
Let's go play Astroneer, man.
Yeah, dude, for sure. I gotta go to the gym, but yes. After that. Yeah. But dude, like this, thanks for chatting about it, because this is like something that I mean, so fucking good.
That's great. Thanks for having me. Always a pleasure. Always great to be here.
Tyler Williams. God among men. Good speeder.
That's right.
No one else is going to get that. That joke's just for me and you.
That is
good speeder.
Good speeders.
Good speeders. Yeah, man, it was cool. Thanks anyone who's listening. Thanks for listening to us mostly gush for like an hour and a half about this game. Maybe slightly less, depending on how much I chop out of silence of Tyler going to get his groceries.
Getting my groceries, Thanks for listening to me get my groceries.
But we're gonna have a part 2 where we wrap up and like really dive in and talk about the end game stuff and like our final thoughts on it. But cool. All right, guys. See ya next time.